Hey, do you remember Stibble's Codex of Companions? That big book that I wrote last year with like 116 unique monsters and friendship mechanics for 5th edition? Well, it's available now. You can just straight up buy the whole dang book that I took a half a year to write, with friendship and pets and familiars and neat magic items and arena mechanics that I don't think I ever talked about. You can buy our high detail miniature set, our deck of cards that's almost twice the size of a magic deck, all our neat plushies that are actually really big, and man, I don't know, being a salesman is hard. I wrote the thing. If you like me, then you might like the book. I made tooth skeletons and gummy bear oozes. What more do you want from me? Well, wait, you can also pre-order Grimhall? Hello, all you tabletop people. I found that time and time again, the number one issue when starting any game, no matter what, is prep work. It sucks to learn the rules of a card game, but it's fun to play the card game, but to know the game you gotta learn it so you can play it, but that's not the fun part yet. That's work. Dungeon masters in D&D work endlessly to create this massive world with cities, physics, magic, pretty much everything that I've made tutorials for. And then they get mad when their work goes unappreciated. But if your players have to read all that stuff, it'll be homework. So now everybody's a little confused and probably a little upset, and nobody's even rolled a single die yet. So let's try to fix that. Actually, I'm lying. I've already fixed it for my players, and I want to tell you about my solution. Participation with a YouTube video is an illusion. I'm the director and I'm just trying to make it fun for you guys. So I think the solution lies in scrubbing away expectations and playing it like a roller coaster that you've never ridden. Let's look at the different styles I've played during my fun concentration process. First off, basic D&D. It's incredibly fun to make your own world, and it never feels like work because there's no challenge and nobody's forcing you to do it. The exact same goes for character creation. But the problem with that, as I stated before, is when you throw them together in a pot and start boiling them together, the mixing gets a little hard to handle. Character backstories end up not fitting in very well. The world has too many secrets and you didn't really write any explanations. The story already has a planned out route, and in-game freedom is kind of removed. And the only reason that that's a problem is because you did all the freedom part beforehand. So let's look at pre-written modules. It's a mixed bag. We have amazing stuff like Dragon Heist, Curse of Strahd, and Eberron, and then there's some solid stuff like Tomb of Annihilation and Dungeon of the Mad Mage, and then there's Storm King's Thunder. That has the Liferlast stat block. Look at that challenge rating.
What the fuck is that?
But even then, when playing these pre-written things, you still have to fill in a lot of the gaps. I found that in Tomb of Annihilation, there's a bunch of these mines all over the place, and the book just says, yeah, you have to write those. And even then, if you didn't read ahead of time, you'll reach certain stagnation points, and sometimes there are these plot holes and weird rulings and sequence errors. So still, there's a lot of prep work that you have to do. Now let's look at my Formula 1. The first draft Iron Man suit that I used to fly out of terrorist buttholes like anything involving drow. To start a session, all I did was write 3 story prompts. I sometimes looked up a random noun or an adjective generator to get started. You know what? You could actually read any number of those writing prompts on Twitter or other blogs as your diving point and then just play the game from there. Another thing that you have to do before you get started is just pick a party level. Read 1 sentence about each of your party members and then learn to swim. Here are some examples. I did a Christmas episode in this format on my livestream channel, Tall Tales. Yes, this whole video is just a pitch for Tall Tales, but let's read the briefs. In a desert wasteland, where cities rise and fall in the sands on a whim, 3 heroes seek to bring back the forgotten snow of winter. Inspired by the recent rising of the warlord citadel, the North Skull, they will infiltrate the elven society and face the demon sultan, Sandclaw. Is this the best Logan could come up with? How many Christmas puns can the heroes make? Only the sands of time will know for sure. Yeah, I like to write the intro and then maybe some directions that the story could go in and some questions that the players can bounce off of. But the next one. A team of seasoned hitmen have been given the ultimate task: venture to the North Pole and assassinate the symbol of communism. Guarded by giants, fortress walls, highly patrolled halls decked with boughs of holly and booby traps alike, Santa sits on a throne of wealth. Wealth that he gives equally to all children of the world, unearned and undeserved. But if they do their job right,
Our heroes will put an end to this criminal activity. Yeah, I pretty much just write with juxtapositions. It's the only thing I do. I just slap two ideas together. Hiding from their parents to witness the arrival of Santa, 3 children instead find Santa's bag sitting in their living room. Their tiny minds race with 1,000 questions. Where did the jolly home intruder go? Is it now their job to deliver presents to the children of the world, or take all the magic items it contains and use the power of Christmas for evil? They ended up liking the last one a lot, so they made some children characters and set out on an adventure that I pretty much didn't plan at all. The key thing that I learned from this format was that when I pulled a blank, I could just ask the party what they think would happen next. You know, like how the Duffer Brothers wrote Stranger Things? That's real, they actually pulled suggestions from the cast members, it's really cool. If you feel creatively overwhelmed, let your players affect the story out of character. That's all that players want to do, is just affect the story, so let them if you can't. Then we have a formula that we used very recently in the episode The Blockbuster, where you write the most basic pitch in the world. Pick a random level scope, I use page 37 in the DM's guide, and then write something simple. In both this format and the last one, you can actually design the party dynamics for them, and then let the players just pick their roles. So in this example, Jacob wrote the pitch. One of the players is their actual self, and they go to Blockbuster and get pulled into the movie that they pick out. So Felvaleb, one of our main players, he played himself, and the other two, myself and
Mario Sang,
had to pick our roles once we got introduced. Per audience recommendation, Fel picked out a horror movie, and I decided to be the villain in that movie. We had an amazing time, and I recommend this style the most. But if you want to take off the training wheels, start with nothing. We have the players roll random characters in D&D Beyond and not even look at them until we start. Don't worry too much about equipment and either prep spells right away or pick while you play. Just sit down at the table and ask like 5 questions before you get started. So the questions would be like, what environment are we in? Why are you guys here? What type of conflict do we want to be presented with? And just keep asking until a player decides to jump into a role, either as the source of conflict or as the protagonist. It very much relies on creative and respectful players, the yes and rule of improv, and people who are able to share the spotlight equally, which are very hard things to do. So yeah, a bunch of different ways to play with varying degrees of prep work. Just pick whatever fits your schedule and your group, and if you don't have a group, challenge yourself to talk to people. I don't know. Almost every tabletop game has like 1 million Discord communities, and Discord people have nothing going on. But if you really want to have a good time, try City of Mist.